Welcome to the Cornbread and Kool-Aid podcast. My name is Demetrius. As always, we shout out the super producer extraordinaire, Mr. Mike Ward. We are back week one of the 2023 season. And yep, that just happened. Yeah, the Lions went to Kansas City and beat the Super Bowl champs 21-20. I'm going to get the disclaimer. Well, no, first, thank you for listening. Whether you're somehow still up, I'm obviously remote doing this remotely, and sometimes this year we're going to do them like that, and that's okay. Uh, uh, but the emotions right now are going. I wouldn't be able to sleep anyway, so we're going to go ahead and knock this thing out. Um, if you are listening, we appreciate it. If you listen later, we appreciate it. Likes, hearts, however you show it, whether you're on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, it's always appreciated. Um, so this is going to be predictable, right? So 21-20 is the final. Lions beat the Chiefs in Kansas City. So right off the top, I'm not doing the no Travis Kelsey, no Chris Jones thing. That's for other people to do. There's plenty of podcasts out there that you can go and watch. If you choose to watch this one, you can see I'm happy, I'm relaxed. I'm going to do this thing and with no apology. I will not even discuss that. Um, there was a time, and it didn't feel like it was that long ago, when we used to say they would have up stats about the Lions about road wins. There was this maybe 5 years ago, 4 years ago, they hadn't won a road game in like 3 years, and they would talk about what's the progression. How do the Lions get to be where I contend they arrive tonight? This isn't the end all be all. We didn't win a championship. We didn't win. They won one game. I get that. But if you're a legit fan and not the dude who's going to call the radio station tomorrow and say, "Oh, they got lucky and the Chiefs made mistakes," okay, you can do that. And I'll be listening to the radio, and already the same guys are going to do that. The guys who called in today and said they were going to lose by 2 touchdowns, all those people are going to call in tomorrow and try and diminish this win because that's what they do. And we all know I hate that guy, and he's going to do it anyway. So we're not doing that here now, though. That's not what I do. That's not what this podcast is about. So, what we're going to say is this: the Lions didn't play a great game, and they went on the road in prime time and beat the Super Bowl champs. And if you want to do that other thing, you can. There's a radio show on in the afternoon. You can call and do that all you want. But there was a time when they had to lay out this progression and to go from where the Lions were to where the Lions, I believe, arrived tonight. It was first, you got to learn how to beat bad teams at home. You got to win at home against bad teams. And the Lions couldn't beat anybody, right? This wasn't that long ago. And they turned this around. And it was probably Green Bay. No, it was probably 2 years ago. Then the second thing was you got to go on the road and beat bad teams. That was a game in Chicago 2 years ago. I think I remember that one. When we like, okay, that's a good win on the road. Then you got to beat good teams at home. And I think they had a couple of those wins last year. If you believe Minnesota was not a fraud, that was a that was a decisive win against Minnesota last year. And then the final step before you can be taken seriously and given real credibility is you got to beat good teams on the road. That's what happened tonight. Quite possibly, even without Kelsey and Chris Jones, nobody's going to say the Chiefs aren't one of the better teams in the league. And they went on the road. Does it matter that it was prime time opening night? I think it validated what the league thinks about the Lions. It was the Lions saying, "Hey, league, you got it right. Taking us seriously, you got it right." And the moment wasn't too big. That's the thing. I think there was a degree of people. There was a segment of people who wondered, prime time, opening night, first game, everybody watching. Do you want the Lions there? And people would make their jokes. And I would say to people, It's okay. This is what I do. My opinion is rooted in fact and reality and understanding what they were last year and understanding what they did in the offseason and how much they improved the defense. Now, all that being said, they weren't they weren't clean, and neither were the Chiefs. And so I don't say it was at a disadvantage. I don't care about the Kelsey Jones conversation. I just won't have it. You have to go out, you have to line up, and you have to beat the people that are playing against you. You have no control. And I don't ever remember a deal where the Lions were down a player who was injured or missed. And last year there was so many defensive players missing at different points of the year. Nobody gave a damn. People don't give a damn. So you go out and you line up and you execute against the players that are there. And this is what we have, Lions fans. By the way, this is what it's going to be like every time. They may get one or two blowouts, but what we saw tonight, for me, it was as impressive a game with the mistakes even, because that's when you know your team's good. When they don't play their best and they still beat a really good team on the road. That's the statement. I could do the whole thing. Marvin drop, uh, bad Cam Sutton PI call. I could do the ref thing. Their right tackle, Juwan Taylor, lined up illegally the whole game and false started at least 7 times. They finally called one late. I could do that just as easily as you could do they didn't have Travis Kelsey and Chris. I'm not doing that. I'm not letting you do that to me. I've been waiting since this game was announced in April, and I've been talking about it, and so I'm not doing that. Oh, a win is a win. Nobody ever says, "Oh, that's not impressive enough." A win, it doesn't count. That's not how it works. A win is a win. You take that. A win over the Super Bowl champs on the road in prime time, you take it. But the statement is not just, "Oh, we beat the Super Bowl champs, so we're great." Mm-mm. The statement is, "We didn't play our best." Not we, because I didn't line up at all. I felt like I did a couple times, but they went out and they didn't even play their best game and they beat the Super Bowl champs on the road in prime time. The moment wasn't too big. It is critical for non-Lion fans. If you're someone new to football, you don't get what it's like being a Lion fan. Um, and 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 there are people who know, and there are people who know me who know. And I've recently connected with another very good Lions fan. Shout out to James Moten. I know you're out there. Um, uh, so James is sitting, I'm sure James is sitting there watching, and that's a hard watch. It's always been a hard watch our whole life. But they wear these shirts now and they have these signs up in the building in Allen Park. And it's just 4 letters, right? And people think it's about Detroit and it's about and it is, and it's grit. That's what we just watched. We just watched a team that overcame a really bad red zone fumble. Marvin gave away minimum 3 points. We were probably going in. We watched them give up a 3rd and 17 that was a touchdown 2 plays later. The Cam Sutton pass interference. There were key moments in this game where historically those things happen to the Lions and the wheels come off. They fall apart. Game over against a good team, against possibly the greatest quarterback ever. And he played okay, but he was under pressure all day. That's it. So some of the mistakes, the drops, the drops are the drops. But some of those were throws that Mahomes threw behind guys. Why? Because he was getting chased by Lions. They had him under pressure all day. But I can't. I have to go back to the idea of first game of the year, Thursday night, prime time. They teed us up. We were supposed to be fish food for the world champs, getting their rings, celebrating Kansas City. We got to go to Arrowhead. We were supposed to be fish food. And big shout out to all those blue shirts I saw in that stadium. Our people turned out. I wish I could have done it. Our people turned out, right? And they bought tickets on the secondary market and went to that game. And I, at one point, am certain I heard a chant, "Let's go Lions." We're up 21-20 right after we took the lead. But this isn't just about, oh, it's just one game. And you got your guys. You call the radio station tomorrow and say that bullshit. I don't want to hear it. It is not just one game. It's the only game we had to play today, and we won it. That's important. But overcoming mistakes, because guess what? The Lions are going to play better than they played tonight. And tonight they played well enough to beat the Super Bowl champs on the road. That's the key. We know from each of the last 2 years, this team plays better in the second half than they do in. They're just getting better. Gibbs scratching the surface, right? Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jared Goff, they picked up right where they left off. Um, all the people who want to trade for a receiver. I think Josh Reynolds might have put a question mark there. Do we need to go trade for? I don't know. What I know is that this team that did not play well kept fighting and they kept fighting and they kept fighting. That's what they do. And to fans, this is gonna be hard because it's gonna be this all year. Every game is well, every most of these games are gonna be a grind. And what I love is that I feel comfortable that we got a shot every week. The statement from tonight, I would love to do a whole segment on Jared Goff because I'm a golf guy and I don't know what's wrong with you people who are not. The statement tonight was we can play with anybody. We're not going to win every game. Nobody believes that. I think there's 4 or 5 losses on the schedule. Yeah, yeah. I'm 12 and 5, 13 and 4 guy. Um, but we're gonna play better than we played tonight. And tonight, playing a B plus game, we beat the Super Bowl champs at home, at their place. Uh, Dan Campbell did Dan Campbell shit. So I guess we better strap it on, put the seatbelt on, and get ready for that. We got to go through all that stuff. So I wanted to talk a bit about the moment and how I felt they rose to the occasion. And you can say it was an ugly win. You can say it was a asterisk win. But at the end of that sentence, you still got to use the word win. At the end of the day, you got to use the word win, and that's all that matters to me. So I'm most happy that they showed that they deserved it. Right? There are people in the league who assumed they would be fish food for KC on opening night. And the Lions said, "Not so fast, my friend." So I'm proud of that. I like that. So beyond the moment, specifically around the game. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the game, obviously, and then just I think Mike's got a couple Twitter comments lined up. It looks like there's a lot, but I'm only taking three, so cut that list down. It's too damn late for that. I think that coming out, opening up, Jared Goff looks sharp, and there was this whole narrative about, oh, they made a mistake not playing the preseason. I disagreed then. I disagree now. I think Jared Goff looked like my quarterback. And I'll reiterate what I said 2 weeks ago in the preseason podcast. Jared Goff's your quarterback this year. Jared Goff's your quarterback next year. And he's likely your quarterback for 3 more after that. So get used to it. A couple of interesting, like the plays, the game had such an ebb and a flow, right? That there's a play where Gibbs lost his balance. Had he not lost his balance, he probably scores. But I think Goff found ASB a couple plays later for a touchdown. I liked Goff's rhythm early. The fake punt, and Dan Campbell's going to do that. He's going to, like I said, Dan Campbell is doing Dan Campbell shit, and he doesn't care. He doesn't care. Um, I could do the whole thing of hindsight's 2020, and I agree with it now because it worked. No, I didn't agree with it then. I don't agree with it now. That was in your own like 20, maybe even in the red zone. I wouldn't do that. You can't be doing that, Dan. I'm gonna need you to dial that shit back. You cannot be faking punts at your own 20. That's got to be an exception, not the rule. So hopefully you won't. But the whole preseason narrative about golf is stupid. Uh, the bad snap was an anomaly. It really it would have hurt more, except Marvin than I wasn't happy with Marvin today. I gotta be honest. I'm not gonna jump down a Marvin rabbit hole. The fumble was bad. You can't fumble in your own red zone. You just gave away minimum three, potentially 7 points. You cannot do that. Not against any team, much less on the road against the Super Bowl champs. You've got to make them take it. But they hung in the whole time. And there was 2 possessions. Well, actually, getting off the field early in the second half was huge because at that point it was 14-14, and they could have blew the whole thing wide open. But there were so many huge plays in the second half of this game. That sequence when they actually early late in the first half when they went from a 3rd and 17 and we had a busted coverage 2 plays later, it's 1st and goal, and they're in the end zone. That looked a lot like last year, so I need that to be cleaned up. But the pick six is obviously, I want to say obviously, I think it's probably the play of the game, right? Everything changes with the pick six. You're down 14-7, and if they score there, it has the risk of getting away from you. So the pick six is obviously huge, but they continued to pressure him all night. And I contend that some of those throws are behind receivers, even though they'll be called drops. Sometimes he just threw the ball to nobody. And even with his right tackle jumping, false starting every play without the refs calling it, And I'm not going to do that. If I won't do the Kelsey Chris Jones thing, I can't do the illegal formation and false starts by their right tackle. Except he did it all night, and it was really pissing me off. But I think there was this ebb and flow, and there was a point where the Chiefs were up 17-14 with a chance to go in after a massive Cam Sutton pass interference penalty, and the Lions held them to a field goal that made it 20-14. That is huge. Obviously, you look at the final score and you see how big that was. If the Chiefs go in for a touchdown, this game might be over. Um, the pick six is great. I'm happy for the kid. He had a great camp. He's a steal. Even in the second round, Brian Branch is a steal. I think CJ Gardner Johnson made a big play on a 2nd and 20 that made it a 3rd and 20 that essentially salted away the game. I think that 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 sequence where you held them to a field goal to make it 20-14 instead of something much worse was almost as important as the pick six. Pick six is points on the board, and as well as I think Golf played, we weren't getting in the end zone, and that hurt. Um, but but I love that Josh Reynolds showed up, reminded us that he's a good receiver who has a really good rapport with Jared Goff, and we don't need to go out and make any trades. So obviously the key play is the pick six. I love the way Jared Goff played. I think that you saw leadership from Jared Goff that I talk about a lot. I'm a guy who hates penalties. Turnovers happen, and I think Marvin just took a hit on his arm, but that's a red zone turnover that you got to clean that up. The penalties, Cam Sutton's was not too huge. Panay Sewell's didn't really count. So I thought they played a B plus game, right? That game is going to win you a lot, though. The game they played tonight will win against most teams. Obviously, they won on the road against the Super Bowl champs, but you got to clean it up. You can't if you do that, somebody's going to get you. So hopefully you clean that up. The Dan Campbell stuff, I don't know what to say, guys. I really want to tell you guys he's going to calm down, but I don't think he is. I think Dan Campbell is that dude. I think the sequence to me that defined the Detroit Lions, the 2023 Detroit Lions, was was the 9 play, um, 75-yard drive that took 5 minutes off the clock and gave them the lead. That was massive. That was a statement that says we're not going away. We're not that team that used to fold. We're not going to fold. You got to knock us out. And if you use the boxing analogy, if you let this go to the scorecards, we're going to get you. You got to knock us out. And that's what I love about the team. This emboldens me in terms of what I think they can do because of what I've said throughout the time I started talking. They didn't play their best game. They played maybe a B plus game. I thought Goff was in rhythm for portions of the game. I thought Montgomery played well. I think Gibbs is scratching the surface. ASB was who he is. We know who he is. He just catches the ball and makes plays. I think that the defense is going to be improved. There were some busted coverages today, and you saw those, and it was generally new guys. One for sure was Chauncey Gardner Johnson, without question, on a touchdown. I think Cam Sutton had to run trail because of a misalignment. There is definitely stuff to clean up, and when your team goes and they beat the Super Bowl champs on the road in national TV, prime time, everybody watching, which it talks about the moment. That stuff doesn't matter to them anymore. So it obviously was an impressive win. It obviously is a huge win. I think though that get past the fact uh, that they won with a B plus effort screams as they get better because we have data that suggests they will get better because each of the last 2 years they've gotten better and now the talent has caught up with the culture and the cornbread's piping hot. I'm as excited as ever. Obviously this is 10 minutes after the game ended, which is the whole point of this, but Mike, I do want to take a couple of just quick Twitter comments because it's late and we're not doing 45 minutes tonight. So let's do it. What was the key moment? Oh, okay, so the key moment, probably debatable. I think you got to say the pick six. The pick six. See, this. I think there's other options, right? I really do. I think that I've said a couple of times that sequence where they held KC to a field goal after the Cam Sutton PI that put Kansas City on the Lions 20, and they made some plays. That stupid trick play KC tried late in the game on fourth down was where you get the tight end taking the snap, trying to do a jet sweep. And I think Josh Pascal reminded us that he might not be a bum after all. I always liked him. He just hadn't been healthy. And that's what I liked. I liked that Enrique contributed. I liked that Pascal contributed. I liked seeing Benito Jones contribute. So, but to answer your question, key moment, probably can't ignore the pick six. It's just tough. But there were also other plays. There was a key drop by Kadarius Tony. That could be if you want, and it was not a drop. I don't think it was a drop. I think the ball was thrown behind him. You can say it was a drop. A lot of key moments in a 1 point game. There's obviously a bunch of key moments. You could make a statement that the Goff to Reynolds pass that got them out of a long down, and they were way behind the sticks, and they connected on a big play. But I think realistically, it's the pick six. The pick six was huge. It changed the game. So yeah, I'll go with the pick six. What's next? So I talked about that little rolling the dice on both the punt and then the fourth down later in the game. The punt I would not do. The punt I question. I questioned it before, and even after they won the game, I question it again. Faking a punt in your own red zone is a bad idea, Dan Campbell. Please don't do that shit again. Um, the one later is Dan Campbell. That's our coach. He's like, let's go get it. Let's go for it and let's try and salt the game away. And I think the pass got knocked down. I think Goff had somebody open, but the pass got batted down. We just got to settle in, buckle up, and get ready for much more of this. This is what we're gonna get. We're gonna get a bunch of these games, and my feeling is we're gonna win most of them though, because I think they will find a way. That's what the whole grit thing is about. Is that they'll find a way, right? And I think that's who they're gonna be. I think they made talent upgrades. I think they're better. I think Gibbs, Laporta, Jack Campbell had some key plays. I think Brian Branch, you're going to see this team mature and get better because that's what they've done each of the last 2 years. And if you don't get off to that bad start, and there's nothing that suggests to me now they can't go home and beat Seattle next week. There's nothing after what I saw tonight. And you can say Kansas City didn't play well if you want. That's fine. They were at home. They got the best quarterback in the league. I'll debate that. We played well enough to win the game, and it wasn't our best effort. What if we play a clean game next week in Seattle? What at home? What does that look like? Right? So yeah, the win on the road against a really good team when you don't play your best game is important. It's important. If the Lions would have played a perfect game and only won by one, I would have been worried or scared. I would have said, "Wow, it took our best to beat the Chiefs by one when they were down two players." What tonight said is we can play with anybody. We all agree the AFC is deeper than the NFC. We all agree Kansas City is one of those teams, even with two guys out. We went in there and we won the game. We can play with anybody. I did a podcast 2 weeks ago and I said the word super and bowl, and people flipped out on Twitter. No, this is not me predicting after one win that they're going to the Super Bowl. What I'm saying is after one win, when you didn't play your best, you can play with anybody. Clean up your own stuff and you can play with anybody. And I firmly believe that. I think they showed that tonight. It's not about the moment. So I don't care if it's in prime time. I don't care if it's a playoff game. The culture is built now. This team can play with anybody. Dan Campbell's always going to do this fourth down thing. I just think he firmly believes in his team. Don't see it as Dan Campbell just wanting to be some risky gambler, because I don't think that's what it is. Dan Campbell believes in his players. So if he's got a 4th and 2 and he can salt the game away with a first down, his mind says Ben Johnson's got to play. His heart says my guys are dogs. They're going to go do it. And he has been right more than he's been wrong. I'm at a point where I don't question that stuff. Statistically, Dan Campbell's going to be right more than he's going to be wrong, and I'm not going to beat him up the one time he's wrong and just ignore the 50 times he's right, or it might not be that lopsided, but that's what we got in store. He's going to do that. He's going to do that. That's just who he is. So let's do one more. Who gets the most credit? Who gets the most credit for the win, I guess, right? I could do it the easy way, but I'm not. This ain't gonna be popular. So the few of you who are listening live, you might get mad. The credit goes to Sheila. Nobody wants to say that. Nobody wants to hear that. The credit goes to Sheila because she has built something. She built this. This starts at the top. This is an organizational thing that we saw tonight. This is an organizational strategy bearing fruit. And she started this 2 days after Thanksgiving in 2020 when she fired Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia. And she had a Zoom call. First time I'd ever seen her. Well, no, I'd seen her, but I didn't really know who she was. And she talked about collaboration, collaborative effort, collaborative decision making. She kept using the word collaborate. And I've touched on this before, but I will continue to say that the leadership in that organization is as abundant as it's ever been. And it starts with Sheila. It begins and ends with Sheila. How she put together the group that picked Brad Holmes, who is an incredible leader. He is very good at his job. He is very good at building relationships. He and Dan Campbell, and I don't think these guys can act. So when you watch Inside the Den and them on the draft, they're working together and he's talking to Dan Campbell. Remember how we like this guy, right? That's leadership. That's leadership when Brad Holmes listens to the people around him, when he listens to what Dan Campbell wants in a player and he goes and gets it. It's the talent of understanding the scouting of college players, and it's the leadership to say, hey, Dan and I are a unit. When he wears his Dan Campbell t-shirts and Dan Campbell wears his Brad Holmes t-shirts, they wear their grit t-shirts. That's leadership. That's the whole thing, guys. The leadership in this organization is different. That's why all this is working. Sheila's leadership drove the group that selected Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. That's leadership. Now you can give credit to all the guys on the committee: Barry Sanders, Chris Spielman, Mark Hollis, Disner, even Rod Wood. And everybody hates Rod Wood. I guess I don't know why, but Agnew, uh, on the scouting team, or the guy who works for Brad Holmes. I can't remember his Ray, maybe. I think it's Ray Agnew. That group, that's leadership. Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell working together to put together a very specific type of coaching staff, ex players. That's leadership. That's them building something. And they have built this thing in 2 years. And we all remember where we were when we started 0-8. And we just wanted to win. We just wanted to win 2 years ago. They built this. That's leadership. And the dude under center is a leader. He's unflappable. That 9 play, 75-yard drive, Jared Goff was as cool as the other side of the pillow, right? Jared Goff is a leader. That's it. This organization is filled with leaders who understand the value of leadership. They understand how to lead. And when you have a talented group that's getting more and more talented, and they're young and you're smart with your salary cap, and you have this culture filled with leaders. Mark Brunell, Antoine Randall L, the linebackers coach, Kelvin Shepard. The room is full of leaders. The building is full of leaders. That's how you turn this around. And when the league in April says, hey, everybody wants the Lions to be the darlings, let's see. Let's put them to the test. Let's see if they're ready for the moment. Let's send their asses to Kansas City on the opening Thursday night and let the football world see the Detroit Lions. Okay. Okay. Some of that is talented players. Some of that is great coaching. Ben Johnson executing the scheme. If you don't realize how good Aaron Glenn is, there were a couple busted coverages. They've got leaders throughout that building. And I think that as much as the players go out and execute, and they won this game today when they didn't even play that well, my cornbread is a piece of leadership cornbread. I am excited because of the people running the organization. And yes, that includes Sheila, especially Sheila. And it's just not cool to love an owner. It's certainly not cool to love an owner with the last name Ford. I get that, but I'm not that guy, right? I look at data. I look at the things I see. I use logic. I use reasoning. And if you can look at every decision they've made, even their bad ones, signing Brashard Perriman, signing Tyrell Williams, and they immediately signed them to smart deals that didn't crush their cap. And when it didn't work out, they let them loose. You're not the kind of guy we need. You don't fit our culture. The leadership built the culture. The culture and the talent is resulting in what we're seeing right now because this is not a one-off. It's a good football team. No, this is a good football organization. This is a football organization that we can be proud of. I don't even care how many games they win. I feel like they're going to win 12, maybe 13. More than anything, the excitement you see in me now, the excitement you're probably going to see in me all year doing this podcast, win or lose. I think this organization is built with leaders who understand the city of Detroit, the Lion fan base. That's why you see grit on hats. That's why you see grit in their building. That's why they try and run the ball down your throat. I didn't think David Montgomery had 20 carries today. This is who they are. They're going to win some ugly games. They're going to pound the ball down people's throats. They're going to scratch and claw. And Patrick Mahomes was under pressure all night. This is the best team on their schedule, guys. Tonight was the toughest game on the schedule, and we didn't play well. The Lions played a B plus game in the toughest game they're going to play all year. Now, there's going to be blips because every team has blips. I don't see 5 losses on the schedule. This was supposed to be one of them. In my preseason, I had them 12-5, and I had this as a loss. I'm not going to jump the gun. I'm never going to do, I don't know. I heard a guy say 15-2. It's unrealistic. What I'm saying to you is we're going to love watching this team the rest of the year. We're going to enjoy. It's going to be painful. I got to be honest. This is a rough 3 hours for me. I'm off site traveling for work, right? And I'm just sitting here in this hotel like, man, I hope I can do this podcast tonight. Yes. There were times where my stomach was hurting, but this is why we love them. This is why we do. This is why the people are listening to this right now at midnight. After midnight, you listen to my silly little podcast. We love this team. And my whole statement tonight is we got a team we should love. I don't know what the record's going to be. Yeah, I hope they host the NFC Championship game. I hope we can say Super Bowl. I'm telling you, we got a team that we should embrace. So when that idiot calls the radio tomorrow and say, "Oh, they got lucky. Oh, they're not that good. They're still only going to win 7, 8 games." The guy predicted they were going to win 8 games. Called the station, said they're an 8-9 team, and the Bears are going to win the division. I called the station, promptly called that guy an idiot, which I don't generally do because I don't know the guy. But see, I'm jumping down a rabbit hole. This happens sometimes. It's been a long time. I think it was an important win. I think somebody already used the term a culture win. I saw it on Twitter. That's a really good description. It's a culture win. This is a statement. We just told America. We just told the rest of the league. We told all football fans. Oh wait, we got to give a damn about the Lions now, don't we? Oh crap, we got to pay attention to the Lions now. Yes, yes, you do. Yes, sir. That is something you should do because with a B plus effort, they went into the Super Bowl champions house and they got the win. But more importantly, that's how we're going to win games. We might have a couple pretty ones, but I doubt it. So my final thoughts are simple. Embrace Sheila, embrace the culture, embrace Brad Holmes if you already haven't. This is a team. This is the best team. Do that. Don't do that. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. I think this is a team we should, as Lion fans, as whether you're a Metro Detroit or you're outside of Detroit, lifelong Lions fan, people got in a bus and drove to Kansas City, and we had thousands of blue shirts there. This is the team we've been waiting for years, my entire adult life. This is the team. This is the team that represents us. This is a team that's going to work hard. This is an organization that has built a culture to win football games, and I think they're going to win a bunch of them. So all right, I don't do it anymore. That's good. It's late. Thank you to everybody who's been listening. This is a huge win, a huge statement. If you're not excited now, you need help. If you're not excited, if you're not eating the cornbread now, yeah, I don't know what it takes. You're just a different kind of cat. So thank you to the super producer extraordinaire, as always, Mike Ward. Thank you to people who are listening, watching, likes, love. Somebody gave me a heart already. Thank you, whoever did that. I appreciate it. Um, I'm going to be on the road for Seattle as well. But now we got to chill for 10 days. But we get to bask at least until Sunday. We're going to be the talk of the NFL world. And that's the next test, by the way. What's the real test now? How do we handle success? Everybody knows about us now. They know. They know. We're on the radar. We're on everybody's radar. So everybody's going to be loving us, picking us. Dan Campbell's job got harder. Dan Campbell's job got much harder because now we got to go out and keep doing it. We got to do it again. So you don't have the luxury of having a letdown. You cannot drop a home game to Seattle. No, sir. You got to go and validate this. So and that's how it's going to be every week. Now you got to validate this win by winning, and then if you're 2-0, you got to prove 2-0 is not a fluke week 3. At some point, you're going to play the Packers, right? And I got to talk to Chris about that. And so, a big win. Obviously, I'm hyped, and I hope you are too. But thank you for listening. Um, all the support is appreciated, and we'll be back a week from Sunday, hopefully talking about another win at home against Seattle. So go to bed and get up tomorrow and enjoy it. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Y'all have a good night.